joining. That'll also take just a second as it goes out. All right, and people are joining. Welcome. As you join, please share where you're calling in from today. And also, if you would like to, please share something that you're grateful for today. We like to start the events with a gratitude just to center us as we dive into some good learning on a Monday. Chicago, welcome. Kurt from Chicago. Denise from Cincinnati, welcome. Thankful for family, absolutely. Rob from Delaware, thankful for a great weekend, Easter weekend in Delaware. A different kind of Easter in this new world. Gurney, Illinois, John, welcome. Well, welcome everyone. So many of you are joining us today. We're so grateful. And we have an amazing guest with us today, Cheryl Bachelder. And Cheryl is a lovely woman we've worked with for many years here at Weaving Influence. We're proud to serve you, Cheryl. And your work today is serving as a board member for 3 organizations, U.S. Foods, Chick-fil-A, and Pier 1 Imports. She also advises several CEOs of nonprofit organizations. Cheryl is also the former CEO of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen and the author of Dare to Serve, How to Drive Superior Results by Serving Others. She's married to her husband, Chris, for 39 years, and she has 3 grown daughters and 4 grandsons. She's in Atlanta, Georgia today, and safe from the difficult weather we have had overnight. But welcome, Cheryl. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's good to be with all of you today. Thanks for joining us.
Would you like to share gratitude to kick us off too?
You know, I would share gratitude for the sunrise. I've been getting up every day and watch the sunrise, which is not part of my normal routine. And it's just such a beautiful reminder that it's a new day. And here we go again. We can think freshly about the day. And so I just come to really appreciate that. You and I were talking earlier. I hope I remember to do that when the crisis is over.
There's so many things that I hope we all remember to do once this is over, because this is a big change. We're going through a lot of change. And you work with leaders. You help leaders be better leaders. And I'm wondering, how has your work changed since Corona has hit?
You know, it changed overnight, like everybody's life changed. You know, the way you were doing things was different immediately. I serve on the 3 boards you mentioned, and you know, normally a board meets once a quarter for 2 days in person, and you read prep materials, show up and discuss, and then fly home. Well, we're not flying. The board meetings are now weekly, and they're by phone, and the topics are all different. You know, typically board members are very high level. We're into policy, 401ks, strategy, leadership talent, you know, the big issues. And right now we're talking about safety of our employees. We're talking about cash flow. And if we're going to make it, the pivot was so fast from the things we would normally do to the things that we're doing now. So just like all of you, you know, it's just a fast pivot to a new world order.
How are you seeing leaders respond to this change?
Well, you know, that is my passion, is coming alongside leaders, observing leaders, helping leaders learn. And I am just so impressed by how leaders rise to the occasion. In addition to my boards, I coach 6 nonprofit leaders. And, you know, interestingly, their problems are almost identical to the big fancy corporate problems. Because many of them have lost revenues overnight. Like I work with a drug addiction center that runs thrift stores as their source of revenue, and they're closed, just like other retailers are closed. And so, everybody has kind of flipped the switch to, where do my revenues come from? Do I have enough cash flow? Nonprofits are looking towards their donors to come back for them and help them set up for the long term. So what have I noticed? There's some very common themes. Agility is one of them. How fast can the leader pivot and lay down what they thought was important last week and work on the new immediate issues? I've been impressed by how many leaders are remembering to go first to their principles before they go to their action steps. I've heard multiple leaders stand up and say, what our values are. We value entrepreneurship. We value grit and courage. We value learning. Every organization has core values, and this is a perfect time to remind people to lean into those core values as we make decisions. And some of them, frankly, we have to pivot. Maybe safety wasn't the most important value in your enterprise, but today, safety of employees is right at the top. I've also been impressed with leaders seeking wisdom from other leaders. Leaders don't always think to do that. We're typically self-assured. We're practiced in our leadership. We're supposed to look like we have it all together. But I'll tell you, the most impressive conversations I've had during the crisis have been leaders reaching out to other leaders and saying, I've never seen this before. Have you seen anything remotely like it before? Is there any rock I should look under that you have thought of that I haven't? The transparency and vulnerability to say, I'm not sure I've got this ball. I'm not sure I have all the skills. That is such a powerful trait of a leader. And I want to remind you all of that, all the way to the corner office, you should be saying, at every level of leadership, who can I reach out to better understand all the possible issues here that I should be thinking about? I really encourage you to seek wisdom. And the final point is, I've noticed there's a significant difference in leaders who had deep, strong relationships before the crisis and how things are going for them now. Now, I've been talking about deep relationships at work for a very long time, maybe 20 years, but it's still not a core value of many leaders to invest the time it takes to know your team well, or know your clients well, or know your end customer well and how they think. But I'm telling you, the ones who have invested there are reaping huge benefits. I'll give you a concrete example. Somebody said to me, how did that company get mask and hand sanitizer all apparently overnight so they could stay open and serve their customers? Well, they had some deep, long-term, well-developed relationships with suppliers. Another one said, how has that distribution company been able to service people and not be closed? Well, they've been ready for that for a long time. They've practiced crises and made sure they could support their clients. And so, deep relationships, deep skills ahead of a crisis are a huge asset. And that's just a reminder for us on the other side, right? Is if you're in a company that was kind of hit broadside without good practices, boy, when you come out of this, debrief, write them down, remember to practice those skills, and be more ready should we ever have anything remotely like this again.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, we've encountered here at Weaving Influence some things as we've gone along through this that we want to capture and remember on the other side, changes, refinements. But I'm wondering, with the leaders who maybe didn't have those relationships, either with their internal staffs or external relationships, what can they do now? I mean, you can't build deep roots overnight, but are there things they can do during this time to begin that relationship building?
Absolutely. There's no better time than this kind of crisis to exhibit care for your employees, for your clients, for your customers. There's no better time. And so one of the things I've been doing is reminding the leaders I interact with, have you gotten on the phone with your key donors? Have you gotten on the phone and personally said to your largest clients or your mid-sized clients or your smallest clients, have you let them know A lot of people are using technology effectively, and we should. If you can reach a large swath of your teams or clients or customers through these type of tools like Facebook Live and Zoom, etc., it's a wonderful time to be letting them know that you care, talking to them specifically about how you're demonstrating that. You're seeing quite a bit of that on the news. I watched the Grubhub CEO this morning talking about how they're reducing commissions so that more restaurants can use their services and stay alive. I've watched a lot of videos go out from corner offices or mid-level management talking to teams. And I've watched a lot of nonprofits talking to their donors about the times. Maybe the best example, I'm a frequent flyer. Anybody else? I fly all the time, so I'm really good friends with Delta Airline. And their CEO, Ed Bastian, has done a phenomenal job. Of course, they know who I am because I have frequent flyer accounts, so they can reach me. And he is writing the most personal, vulnerable, transparent email each week saying, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to be ready for you when you come back. I mean, for example, I travel internationally on, 9, 12, 15-hour flights. He's explained to all of us how they're going to use these fog bomb germ killer things to sanitize the planes. Well, I'm interested in that because I am going to have to get back on that plane at some point. And I want to know they've gone the extra mile. And so there's, that openness to share how you're getting ready for reentry, how you're there for your customers, why they should trust you, what they can rely on. Those are invaluable communications to share at this time.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, they engender trust, and you remember those messages. You're talking about Delta. You're going to feel when you go to book your next flight, you're going to think about them, and you're going to make a choice based on that level of trust. But what about the leaders? There are some leaders who are naturally able to handle a crisis or prepared to handle a crisis. There are others who are really struggling to keep that positive face out there, to not show, to be transparent, but not, reveal complete panic. What advice do you have for those leaders who are struggling, and then their teams are struggling because they haven't been able to really maintain a cool, level head through this?
Yeah, and I guess I'd start with the fact that the leader is responsible for having a cool head. That's part of your job. Even in the most difficult times. So, and the reason is it's essential to followers. Followers want to know the leader is not losing it. A friend of mine, Rourke Denver, he's a former Navy SEAL, and he says, calm is contagious. And then he winks and says, and so is panic. So, the leader wants to make sure what the team is, what's contagious in their team is calm. We have a plan, we're on it. And to do that, frankly, you have to talk pretty frankly and honestly with people, because there are very difficult decisions being made. Being a leader right now could not be more difficult. I wrote about this on my blog a couple weeks ago. These are decisions that are almost lose-lose, right?
Yeah.
The safety of my employees versus getting some sales so that we don't collapse in the economic crisis. These are very tense, difficult decisions. And so the leader has to really be prepared to exhibit that direction clearly, calmly, confidently. We are doing this because we want to be here on the other side, and we want to employ you, and we want to serve our customers, but calm. So how does a leader stay calm? There is no substitute for self-care. And I am just as susceptible to anyone on this call of getting cabin fever, of getting grumpy, of getting anxious, of not sleeping. All those things happen in my body too. And so my job, my responsibility to people is I need to get it together. I need to get up early and watch that sunrise. I need to go take a 3-mile walk every day. I need to eat healthy. I need to do what helps me sleep at night and make sure I'm rested. you want to think of those as being part of your job description. They're not nice to do. They are necessary to do, because you, a leader who looks ashen, anxious, and unhealthy, does not instill confidence. So please, please, please take care of you. And these things are true at any level of leadership, not just CEOs. This is true for any level of leader, any team leader. So let me tell you a couple examples of what this looks like in reality. My sister is running a hospital in this crisis. I don't think there's a harder job, frankly,
No.
right now, being in charge of a hospital. And she's been in preparation for about 30 days. She runs a command center 14 hours a day to properly serve an entire county. She's the only hospital in that county. So what does she do to keep rested in her wits? She realized that her docs and nurses and service personnel were not willing to leave the hospital. They were going to stay 7 weeks, and they were going to crash and burn and maybe even get sick. And so she said right off the bat, we're going to do rotating shifts, and I'm going to make you leave. She has escorted people out of the building, and she has escorted herself out of the building. On Wednesdays, in the middle of the week, when the hospital is plenty busy, she takes a day off. And she says, if I do not do it, they will not leave. So think about that. The ownership, she would like to be there 7 days too, right?
Absolutely.
But the responsibility she has for their well-being is she must take time off. And she goes home and she paints. She's a painter. And so I'm getting such a kick out of her, because on Wednesdays, she shares her painting with her team and all of us. And I'm like, I don't even have it together like that. What a role model. To people to say, I got my stuff together today. I got my car so that I can come back to you tomorrow, raring to go again. So think about that. Every leader in every place in America right now needs to take care of themselves. By the way, I do want to touch just for a minute on kind of mental health and well-being.
Absolutely.
Please don't underestimate the stress that's on you, your family members, your loved ones. Being in a house with 5 people and nowhere to go, hard.
Hard.
Homeschooling while you work, hard.
Yes.
You know, the anxiety of the disease potentially hitting your family, hard. These are big burdens we're carrying. So I do want you to check in on yourself and check in on other people, team members as well. Are you doing okay? What are you doing for comic relief? What are you doing to self-care? You know, let's talk a little deeper to one another and watch out for one another, because we're already seeing in the headlines stress breaking out in people's lives because of this. So please monitor yourself, get help if you need it, and help others see the opportunity too for that kind of care, because we love them.
Absolutely. And it really is important when it comes from the leader, because then it gives everyone else permission to get care or to take the time off. I think in times of crisis, especially, team members feel like, well, I can't take time off. The leader isn't taking time off. I'm not going to take time off. I've got to be here too. And I think that your example of your sister is really important. But I'm wondering, what are other things that team members can do to support each other during this crisis, to support the work that leaders are trying to do for this crisis, during this tough time?
Absolutely. I literally on LinkedIn last week got this question from a friend, a LinkedIn friend, who said, can you please give us followers some counsel? He said, you always talk to the leaders. Could you talk to the followers? I thought it was a sweet inquiry, because he wants to be a good team member. He wants to know what that looks like. And I'll give you some simple things. Leaders need to hear the word thank you too. That may not sound logical, but to reach out and say, gosh, thank you for working 24/7 to protect our company and our jobs, or take care of our clients, whatever it is, just a thank you, any encouraging word. Leaders need it too. Exhibiting respect. Frankly, this is not our nature, and it's certainly not the way culture is today. We second guess our leaders. We say nasty things about them in social media all day long,
Yeah.
no matter what kind of leader in colleges and governments and churches. We're really harsh on our leaders. And I would tell you, this would be a time to zip it up and demonstrate some respect for the difficulty of the decisions. I mean, would you like to be Governor Cuomo today? Would you like to be
Yeah.
the president of a closed college today? Would you like to be running a hospital? Have some respect for these people who are doing some pretty horrific tasks right now on behalf of human beings. So I feel really strongly about that, obviously.
Yeah.
Other things you can do. This is a great time to go the extra mile and say, hey, it's kind of quiet over here in my area. Can I pitch in somewhere else to help? Is there another task that needs to be done? Anybody need an extra hand? That's always valuable. It's a great time to be innovative, because I'll tell you what, one of the things leaders don't have time to do is think of all the possible solutions. So if you see a path through a problem, because you're on the front line or close to the action, super valuable to say, hey, I found a way to save money. I found a way to speed up response to our customers. Super, super good time to be innovative. And lastly, be upbeat, be optimistic for your teams, for your friends, for your leaders, because, so much of this is outside of our control. So why not leave that over there, because we can't fix it anyway, and be a positive voice in all this. I guess the last thing I'd say you can do for your leaders is become a better leader. I mean, you've got some time right now. You've got some time for review, reflection, learning. Use that time well. Come back stronger.
Yeah. It really is a time we can come back better and stronger. If you have to get through the stress, though. And I guess that's my final question. Cheryl, we've got to put the anxiety aside so we can focus on getting better and being better on the other side of this. But what are some things we can do to be better leaders and even better people when we're on the other side of this?
Well, I heard a CEO say something out loud that was really funny. Sometimes they do. And he said, I just love the way my teams act during a crisis. He said, they just are crazy good. He said, I want those same people to come back when the crisis is over. Can we bottle it? And I thought, that's kind of a good word picture, right? We do bring a lot of energy to a crisis, and we do bring a lot of creativity, and maybe we got to figure out how to bottle that and bring it with us when it's the crisis is over. So I think of two concrete things. And by the way, anxiety is best managed with concrete actions, not just thinking about it.
Right.
Doing something is far more impactful than thinking about it. And in fact, I learned that early. I struggle with anxiety just in general. And one of my doctors looked at me and I said, what would you tell me to do? He said, I would tell you to walk your butt off for 45 minutes every day, the rest of your life, and you will be less anxious. He said, there was nothing that will work better than that. And I said, okay, that's clear. That's very clear and very helpful.
Yes.
So concrete things. I want to punctuate this learning idea, because a mind that is engaged in learning has less room for chaos and anxiety. Your brain just likes learning. It gets fired up, so to speak. And so this is a great time to pick a topic. And you may even want it to be a topic that's way outside of your normal. Like I've been studying genealogy during this thing, because I am honestly interested in my family tree and family history, but I've never had any time to focus on it. But I'm telling you, I get so mesmerized by the stories I'm finding in Ancestry.com, for example. I don't remember anything I'm not watching TV. I'm not reading social feeds during that time. And it's really good for my head. And then I come back into my family and say, I learned something. Let me tell you about this guy named Henry that was in 1752, you know. Another one of my girlfriends is taking a history class online. She says, I've never had a good history class in my life, but I'm going to take one now. There's
great.
so much leadership learning online right now. It's like almost overwhelming, but you know, I'll give you my plug too. I have a servant leadership master course. You can buy that and do it yourself. But there's so much. Just don't let that opportunity pass. If there's anything technology has, you know, just completely blown through, it's any barrier to learning. Learning isn't expensive anymore. It isn't hard. You don't have to travel. You don't have to buy books. It's remarkably easy to learn. So jump in there and pick something and do that. The second thing I want to give you, I did the first week of this mess because I felt myself doing that wobble thing about, you know, I had all these goals and plans for 2020, right. And oh my goodness, it's like, felt like they were all out the window.
Right.
So I have a little planner and I have my 8 goals. So I went back and I read them. And my question to myself was, which goals are actually paused and which could be accelerated in this new circumstance? And here's what made me laugh. I had a goal to clean out the storage room in my basement this year. Guess what? I can do that.
You can do that.
In fact, you know, that's on my list for Friday this week. And so I smiled at myself and then went back through all the goals, including work goals, and said, okay, there's some I can't do, but there's some I can. And I'm going to invest in accelerating those things that I can. And then I think that reflection time on your plans for this year just helps you keep your wits about you, because they always, that line about as soon as you have a plan, God laughs, right? God's always got a bigger plan. And I look back now on the things I did in January, February. I read a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. That has proved very useful to me in March.
I can understand that it would. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. We'll put that in the chat too, because Amazon's not shipping books, but you can still get ebooks.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, reflect on these things, get your wits, reframe your goals. There's still many, many good things you can do to impact others in the world this year. So get after those. And by the way, don't forget to be generous. Sometimes when our bank accounts take a hit, like everyone's have, we stop thinking about helping others. That would be the wrong instinct. Do everything you can, either donate your time, donate your counsel, donate your resources to help people that are in far worse shape than we are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cheryl. So much good advice today. A mini masterclass. And you mentioned your course, which is available on your website, but can you share with those with us today how they can continue to learn from you and connect with you?
Sure. I love to hear from leaders. My website is CherylBachelder.com. The hardest part of that is spelling it. It is CherylBachelder at CherylBachelder.com.
Yeah.
Did I do that right? No.
Yes, you did.
CherylBachelder.com.
You did.
We just posted a blog, I think, this morning, didn't we, Christy?
We did. A terrific new blog that you wrote called Retain Learning. And I suggest everyone go read it. It's just a reminder of all the things we're experiencing now and learning now and want to hold on to and make a part of life on the other side. So check that out. Brand new blog. And you're going to have a new blog each week, right, Cheryl?
Yes, as long as you guys are interested in hearing counsel, I'm here to help. So the other thing is you can always reach me at that Cheryl at CherylBachelder.com. We monitor the site. You can subscribe to get the content pushed out to you. And then you can also follow on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And I just want to be an encouragement to you all. This too will pass. And we'll be better in some way for it, I promise.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. A real inspiration and a pleasure. And thank you, everyone who joined us today. We loved having you, and we hope you'll come back again tomorrow. And you will receive an email today with all the links. So if you didn't grab, write everything down from the chat, never fear. We're going to follow up with all of Cheryl's social media links, her website, all the pertinent information that you're going to want so you can stay connected with Cheryl. All right. Well, thank you again. And Cheryl, again, such a gift. Thank you so much. Bye,
Thanks. Have a
everyone.
wonderful day.
You too.